tightens in their chest because a truth they avoided for far too long just stood up in front of them and said hello. They finally see it. Not all of it, not yet, but enough. Enough to realize they made a very expensive miscalculation when they decided you were small. They thought you were easy to read, easy to handle, easy to move around like furniture in a room they believed they owned. They mistook your quiet for emptiness, your patience for fear, your kindness for a lack of spine. They assumed that because you didn't react the way they would, because you didn't shout, threaten, or perform outrage, that you must not be aware, that you must not be keeping score. They were wrong. What they never understood is that while they were busy talking, you were watching. While they were busy asserting, you were absorbing. While they were busy taking up space, you were learning the architecture of the room. You weren't frozen. You weren't lost. You were listening for patterns. You were noticing how their words shifted depending on the audience, how their behavior changed when control was threatened, how their kindness had conditions, how their respect evaporated the moment they believed they had leverage. They called you passive because it made them feel powerful. They called you harmless because it made them feel safe. They called you naïve because it protected their illusion of superiority. And all the while, you let them believe it. Not because you couldn't correct them, but because correcting them would have taught them something too early. Silence was never surrender. It was distance. It was restraint. It was you choosing not to hand your energy to people who would only use it to sharpen themselves against you. You weren't staying still. You were moving internally, reorganizing, shedding old instincts that no longer served you. You were unlearning the reflex to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. They don't like this part. This is where their story starts to wobble. Because now they're replaying moments, conversations, decisions. They're remembering how often you didn't defend yourself, how you let accusations hang in the air without grabbing at them, how you walked away from situations they expected you to beg to stay in, and suddenly, it doesn't look like weakness anymore. Suddenly, it looks like choice. They're starting to understand that you weren't waiting for permission. You were waiting for clarity. And once you had it, once the picture became whole, you stopped negotiating with people who were never negotiating in good faith. You didn't announce the change. You didn't threaten. You didn't make speeches. You simply withdrew access. You stopped feeding dynamics that relied on your confusion. You stopped showing up to emotional negotiations that always ended with you paying the bill. And that's when things really began to unravel for them. Because control only works when the other person stays reachable. They tried to pull you back with familiarity, with nostalgia, with half acknowledgments and selective amnesia. They acted as if nothing had happened, because that's the version of reality where they still had influence. But something in you had already shifted. You weren't angry, you weren't vengeful. You were done participating. That's the part they never prepare for. They know how to handle resistance. They know how to manage conflict. They even know how to spin outrage into proof of your instability. What they don't know how to survive is indifference grounded in self-respect. Because when you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you stop seeking validation from the very people who benefited from your self-doubt, the entire structure collapses. There's nothing left for them to push against. No emotional handles, no predictable buttons. Just space. And space is terrifying to people who rely on proximity to feel powerful. They're realizing now that you were never dependent on them the way they thought. That the attention they withheld didn't starve you. That the approval they rationed didn't define you. In fact, the moment you stopped reaching for it, you became lighter, clearer, harder to reach in ways that mattered. They're watching you move on without ceremony. No announcement, no dramatic exit. Just a quiet reorientation toward a life that doesn't revolve around proving anything to anyone who already decided who you were. And that's where regret begins to creep in. Not the clean kind, not the honest kind. The kind that shows up as irritation, as restlessness, as an uncomfortable awareness that they no longer matter the way they assumed they always would. They feel it when they talk, and you don't lean in. When they test old dynamics and get nothing back. When their presence no longer shifts your mood. They're starting to understand that access to you was a privilege they treated like a guarantee. You didn't become cold. You became precise. You didn't harden. You clarified. You learned that not everything deserves a response, and not everyone deserves proximity. That discernment isn't cruelty. That boundaries don't need to be explained to people who only ask so they can cross them more efficiently. While they were busy maintaining appearances, you were building substance. While they were investing in control, you were investing in autonomy. While they were trying to stay on top of narratives, you were stepping out of them entirely. And now, from the outside, it looks effortless. That's what confuses them most. They don't see the nights you dismantled your own beliefs, the moments you questioned whether you were the problem, the internal work it took to stop seeking understanding from people who thrived on withholding it. The calm, the distance, the way you no longer orbit their approval. They feel the loss of relevance like a slow ache. Some of them are angry. Some are confused. Some are quietly ashamed. But all of them feel it. The shift, the fact that whatever they thought they had over you is gone. Not taken, not fought for, simply rendered useless. You didn't expose them. You didn't need to. Their behavior collapses under its own weight when there's no one left to absorb it. You didn't seek justice. You didn't need to. You chose alignment instead. And alignment has a way of rearranging everything without raising its voice. They may still talk. They may still try to define you from a distance, but it doesn't land the same anymore because you're no longer available to be shaped by opinions rooted in insecurity or entitlement. You outgrew the room without flipping the table. That's what they're sitting with now. The realization that you were never playing the same game, that while they were focused on winning, you were focused on leaving. That while they were trying to dominate the space, you were quietly building a life that doesn't require their participation. And the most unsettling part for them is this: you didn't leave angry. You left clear. Clear about what you deserve, clear about what you tolerate, clear about the cost of staying in places that require you to shrink in order to belong. You didn't burn bridges. You simply stopped crossing them. They feel the absence now, not because you announced it, but because it's undeniable. The energy you used to bring, the patience you used to offer, the emotional labor you used to provide for free, it's gone, redirected, reclaimed. You're already somewhere else mentally, already building something quieter, steadier, more honest. And they're just now realizing that the version of you they thought they understood no longer exists. This isn't revenge. This isn't dominance. This is consequence without confrontation. And the story isn't finished yet. They feel it most in the quiet moments, when there's no one else around to distract them, when the noise dies down and the truth has room to breathe. That's when it hits them hardest. You didn't just walk away from them. You outgrew the entire version of reality where they mattered. And that's a loss they don't know how to process. Because people like that are used to being the reference point, used to being the axis others rotate around, used to their words shaping outcomes, their moods shaping rooms, their approval shaping behavior. They don't know what to do when someone exits the gravitational field entirely. You didn't argue your way out. You didn't fight your way free. You didn't even explain. You simply stopped orienting your life around their expectations. That's what broke the spell. They replay your last interactions now with a different lens. The moments they brushed past, the boundaries they ignored, the times they assumed you'd always come back, always bend, always forgive without change. They see it now. The subtle signs of withdrawal, the emotional economy you were quietly restructuring. You were conserving energy. You were reallocating attention. You were choosing yourself without announcing it. And because they weren't paying attention to anything that didn't serve them, they missed the shift entirely. Until it was too late. Now, they're left with questions that don't have satisfying answers. Why didn't you react? Why didn't you fight harder? Why didn't you chase closure? Why didn't you demand accountability the way they expected? Because you learned something they haven't. You learned that closure doesn't come from conversations with people who benefit from your confusion. You learned that accountability doesn't require your participation when patterns speak louder than explanations. You learned that the strongest move is not proving your worth to people who already showed you how they value it. They thought silence meant ignorance. They thought patience meant tolerance. They thought your willingness to understand meant you'd always excuse. What they didn't realize is that understanding doesn't equal staying. You can see someone clearly and still walk away. In fact, clarity is often the reason you do. They're starting to notice how little access they have now. How updates about your life reach them late. How mutual spaces feel different because you no longer anchor the dynamic. How conversations feel hollow without your presence, absorbing tension, smoothing edges, making things easier for everyone else. You used to be the stabilizer, the translator, the buffer. And when you removed yourself, everything else became louder, sharper, less controlled. That's when they realized how much emotional labor you were carrying without credit, how much regulation you provided simply by being thoughtful, restrained, and self-aware. They didn't appreciate it because they thought it was endless. It wasn't. You didn't harden. You clarified your limits. You didn't detach because you stopped caring. You detached because you started caring correctly. There's a difference now when they think of you. It comes with a strange mix of admiration and discomfort. Because they can't reduce you to the old narratives anymore. You didn't implode the way they expected. You didn't spiral. You didn't need saving. You didn't even need vindication. You moved on intact. That's unsettling to people who rely on others breaking to validate their own behavior. They're beginning to sense that you were never fragile. You were simply discerning. And once discernment replaces hope, the dynamic changes permanently. Hope waits. Discernment decides. You decided. And here's the part. They won't admit to themselves. A part of them envies you. Not for your calm, not for your progress, but for your freedom, the way you no longer flinch, the way you don't over-explain, the way you trust your own read of situations without polling the room. They're still negotiating with perceptions, still managing impressions, still editing themselves for control. You're not. You don't need to win narratives anymore because you're no longer living inside them. You stepped out of the story they were trying to write for you and started authoring something quieter, sturdier, more aligned. They can feel that you're unavailable for the roles they once assigned you. The fixer, the forgiving one, the understanding one, the one who stays when it's uncomfortable, the one who absorbs impact so others don't have to. You resigned from those positions without notice, and now the system feels your absence. They may try to reconnect, not because they understand, but because they feel the loss of control. They may reach out with softened tones, selective memory, sudden insight, not because they've changed, but because you did. And you'll notice something then. You won't feel pulled. You won't feel flattered. You won't feel obligated. You'll feel neutral. And neutrality, when it's rooted in self-respect, is irreversible. You see them clearly now, without resentment or longing. You recognize the patterns without needing to confront them. You understand the dynamics without needing to explain them. That's the power shift. Not dominance, not revenge, not exposure, just independence. They're still processing the fact that they no longer get to define you, that their opinions don't shape your choices, that their approval doesn't unlock access, that whatever authority they assumed they had evaporated the moment you stopped participating. And you didn't replace them with bitterness. You replaced them with alignment. Your life feels different now, quieter, more intentional, less crowded by people who only show up when they need something from you. You're not performing understanding anymore. You're practicing discernment. You don't rush decisions. You don't chase explanations. You don't volunteer access. You choose. And choice, exercised consistently, rewires everything. They'll continue to feel the consequences, not because you're punishing them, but because they're finally living without the buffer of your patience, without the safety net of your empathy, without the assumption that you'll always make space. You were never too much. You were just giving too much to the wrong places. Now you're selective, and selection is power. This isn't the end of the story. It's not even the climax. It's the quiet middle where things rearrange themselves without drama, where you keep moving forward, not looking back, not waiting for recognition. They're catching up to a realization you reached a long time ago. Some people don't lose you loudly. They lose you gradually, silently, permanently. And by the time they understand what happened, you're already somewhere else. Grounded, steady, unexplainable to those who never bothered to understand you when they had the chance. This is not an ending, it's a departure point.
Well. Something just changed. And nah, it's not luck. It's you. Someone with serious power just noticed something about you and what they saw. Oh, it shook them to the core. 2 things. Just 2. But it was enough to make them stop and whisper, "No way, that can't be real." Yeah, you heard me right. They can't believe what they just saw. They've seen hundreds, thousands maybe, but not you, because you don't walk like the rest. You don't speak like the rest. You move different. You think deeper. You've got that quiet storm energy, the type that doesn't make noise but makes history. And guess what? That means something's waking up inside you right now, something real. You're not just existing anymore, you're being watched by power itself. Every move you make, every choice, every pause, it's being noticed. Oh yeah, they see it. That focus, that calm, that control. And it's terrifying them, because they can't figure you out. So here's the deal. Don't go anywhere. Stay locked in till the very end. Because once you hear this whole story, once you feel what they saw in you, you'll never see yourself the same again. This isn't just a speech, it's a mirror straight to your core. Welcome to our channel, Darkness Throne, and to everyone watching right now. Much respect. Seriously. You could have skipped this. You could have kept scrolling like everyone else, but you didn't. You stopped. You felt something. That means there's a voice inside you that knows this message isn't random, it's yours. Power notices silence faster than noise. That's how it started. Quiet. No fire, no storm, no grand display. Just silence. And then that look, that frozen second when someone with real power realized something about you. 2 things, actually. The first hit them like a shadow crawling across the wall. The second broke their balance. You could see it in their eyes. The disbelief, the pause, the sudden thought. Wait, how long has this been right in front of me? See? People with power, Real power. They don't get surprised often. They've seen the loud ones, the show-offs, the desperate. They've seen the kind that scream, "Look at me," until they disappear in their own echo. But you didn't scream. You moved quiet. You moved with reason. You didn't chase light. You became the reason for it. And that's what they noticed first. Your control, the way you didn't rush to prove anything, the way your silence spoke louder than the crowd. They weren't ready for that, because silence is dangerous when it belongs to someone who understands. You see, power respects one thing: discipline. The kind that doesn't ask for validation, the kind that builds itself when no one is watching. They saw that in you. The calm under the chaos. The stillness that says, "I don't need to be seen to know my worth." That was the first thing. Then came the second. The second thing wasn't seen with their eyes, it was felt. It was something heavier, quieter, sharper. They felt that you weren't playing their game. You weren't chasing what they chase. You were building something deeper, something they couldn't control. That's when their heartbeat changed. Oh yeah, that's when fear replaced curiosity. Because power has rules. It works in patterns, feeds on obedience, thrives on attention. But you didn't fit the pattern. You didn't kneel to its rhythm. You didn't beg for its favor. You stayed still, watching, learning, preparing. That silence of yours, it wasn't weakness, it was calculation. It was patience sharpened into a blade. And the one with power? They finally realized you had power too. Not the kind that shouts or dominates, but the kind that grows from within. The kind that no one can hand you, and no one can take. The kind that makes noise without sound. Oh nah, that shook them. Because this wasn't supposed to happen. They were supposed to see another follower, another person trying to impress. But instead they found someone who looked back, not up. They looked at you and saw reflection, a reminder, a mirror they didn't want to face. Because power fears one thing above all else: someone who doesn't need it. Someone who already has what they keep searching for: control over themselves. You didn't flinch when they spoke. You didn't rush to agree. You just listened, calm, unreadable. And that's when they understood the real danger of you. You're not a storm. You're the silence before it. You're not a voice in the crowd. You're the echo that stays after everyone leaves. You've got something that can't be sold, bought, or borrowed. Authentic weight. The kind that builds itself from scars, from mistakes, from long nights where no one claps for you, but you rise anyway. Because you don't rise to be seen. You rise to become unshakable inside. Oh, they didn't expect that. They didn't expect someone who doesn't chase the world, someone who simply moves through it. You became the test of their own strength, the mirror of their own emptiness. Now they can't unsee it. They can't pretend it's not there, because once power notices real presence, quiet, disciplined, grounded, it never forgets it. It circles back. It studies. It hesitates. It wonders what you're going to do next. And that's where the fear begins. Not in what you've done, but in what you could do. The unknown part. The next step. The thing they can't predict. What you hide is louder than what you show. That's what shakes them now. The unknown underneath your calm. The part they can't measure. The depth they can't read. You can see it in the way their eyes search your face, trying to find a crack, a weakness, a clue. But there's nothing. Just stillness. Just that quiet fire behind your stare that says, I know something you don't. They thought they understood strength. Loud moves, sharp voices, fast winds. But what they saw in you wasn't built from noise. It was carved from patience. It was earned, not given. Every piece of your power came from a place deeper than pride. You didn't rise because someone pushed you. You rose because you refused to fall the same way twice. And that's the weight they feel now, the power that hides beneath restraint. You could speak, you could show, you could prove, but you don't. You let your silence talk. You let your actions whisper what words could never carry. Oh yeah, that's what terrifies them, because they can't fight what they can't predict. You've become the question that keeps them up at night. What's driving this person? And the truth is simple. It's discipline. That old, rare kind that doesn't shine for attention but for purpose. The kind that stays when everyone else breaks. You've learned the hardest lesson of all, that control over yourself is stronger than control over anything else. You see, when someone learns to hold back when they could destroy, that's real strength. When someone chooses to stay quiet when they could humiliate, that's power. The world sees that as weakness, but those who know, they tremble at it. Because restraint means focus. It means you're not led by emotion, you own it. Imagine that power. Noticing someone who doesn't chase, doesn't bend, doesn't crumble. They start questioning everything they believe about control. They start wondering if maybe they've been chasing shadows while you've been mastering light. You didn't need to say you were different. You proved it in the way you didn't react, in the way you kept walking when others stopped to brag, in the way your silence grew heavier than their words. You didn't rush to show what you had, because you understood that what's hidden too early loses its value. That's what you're hiding underneath. Patience sharpened into strength. Restraint polished into authority. You don't fight for recognition. You fight to stay in command of yourself. And that's the secret. The powerful fear most. Someone who cannot be moved from within. Because once a person finds that center, that calm in the middle of noise, they become unpredictable. They can't be bribed. They can't be broken. They move by purpose, not pressure. Oh nah. Now they're beginning to understand. You weren't hiding weakness all this time. You were hiding readiness. You weren't avoiding the world. You were preparing to meet it on your own terms. Some steps shake the ground, not because they're loud, but because they mean something. And now, that moment is close. The one they've been waiting for. The one they secretly fear. You're standing on the edge of it. Everything you've held back, every quiet choice, every moment you stayed still while the world screamed for noise, it's all pointing to this. The move, the action, the decision that will change how they see you forever. Because when you finally move, it won't be random. It won't be messy. It won't be for attention. It will be precise. It will be earned. Every inch of that motion will be backed by years of self-control, and that's what gives it power. You're not reacting anymore. You're directing. You're not following pressure. You're creating it. You've become the force that shifts balance without raising your voice. You've seen enough to know how this world works. It rewards the loud for a moment and the disciplined for a lifetime. You've learned to stop proving and start building. You've watched others burn out chasing recognition while you kept building your foundation stone by stone with patience as your only witness. That's why this next move will shake them, because it won't come from impulse. It'll come from purpose. They'll try to understand it. They'll whisper theories. They'll ask why now, but you'll just smile. Because timing is part of mastery. You waited not because you were scared, but because you knew the wrong moment could destroy the right outcome. Real power moves when it chooses to, not when it's told to. Oh yeah, that's the part they can't control, your timing. You decide when to speak, when to act, when to rise. You've studied patience long enough to know that every delay can build strength if you don't waste it. And when you finally step forward, every small choice, every late night, every quiet decision becomes your armor. Your move will not just show your strength, it will reveal theirs. Because once you act, they'll have to respond. They'll have to face the truth that while they were busy seeking control, you were mastering restraint. While they were chasing approval, you were becoming unshakable inside. Your calm wasn't surrender, it was strategy. And when power sees that real, grounded power, it shifts, it rethinks, it recalculates. It starts to respect you. Not because of what you say, but because of what you represent. You represent what they can't fake. Depth. You represent what they can't copy. Consistency. You represent what they can't buy. Peace with your own path. Oh, nah. That realization burns them quietly, because deep down they know your kind can't be controlled. You're not a follower, not a rebel for show, not a player in their endless noise. You're something else, something that moves when the time is right and stops when purpose says stop. That's why when you finally move, it'll look simple on the outside. But inside, it'll be an earthquake. Every person who doubted you will feel it. Every person who ignored your silence will remember it. Every person who underestimated your patience will understand what real power looks like. Calm, focused, patient, and certain. This isn't about revenge. It's about revelation. You're not proving them wrong. You're proving yourself ready. Because true power isn't about destroying. It's about defining. It's about knowing exactly who you are when everything around you tries to make you forget. Oh, this is what all the quiet was for. This is what the waiting built. Not anger, not pride, just clarity. You finally see what matters, and that's what gives you strength. The path doesn't clear for you. You clear the path. That's the truth. No one wants to hear. The world doesn't open doors for strength. Strength breaks its own way through. And now that you've moved, everything begins to shift. The quiet air around you turns sharp. Eyes that once ignored you start to watch closely. Whispers grow in corners. People pretend not to notice. But deep down, they feel it. The change, the rise, the movement that doesn't need permission. You see, the moment you walk with real intent, resistance shows itself. Every obstacle that was hiding in the shadows steps out to test you. It's not a curse, it's proof. Because only those who are going somewhere ever face real opposition. Everyone else gets left alone. That's the moment they try to stop you. Some with words, some with silence, some with fake kindness that smells like control. But you've learned too much to be fooled now. You can read faces that smile while plotting your delay. You can feel when support is really fear wearing a mask. That's the gift of clarity. It makes lies look smaller. The world will test your calm. It will poke at your patience. It will try to drag you into noise just to break your focus. But you know better. You've built armor from stillness, and every test only polishes it. Because you don't fight small battles anymore. You choose which wars are worth your time. And that's what shakes them most. Your ability to stay centered while everything tries to pull you apart. Oh yeah. People mistake calm for softness until they realize it's just quiet precision. You don't shout, you don't rush, you just act. Clean, direct, final. Every choice you make now carries the weight of everything you've learned in silence. The strong don't always roar. Sometimes they simply refuse to move backward. Every challenge that rises in your way becomes another measure of your focus. You meet it not with noise, but with certainty. You've faced worse before, storms that no one saw, nights that almost broke you. Compared to that, this is nothing but another step forward. Oh nah. You see, the one who knows themselves can't be stopped by outside noise, because control from within defeats confusion from outside. The world can shout all it wants, but it can't reach the mind that has decided to stay steady. You've crossed that line. You've trained yourself to listen deeper than doubt. When they try to block your way, you won't argue. You'll just step aside, or step through whatever fits the moment. That's mastery. Knowing that not every wall deserves your anger. Some walls only exist to test how calm your mind has become. Now, when people stand in your way, they won't understand what they're really facing. They'll think they're fighting one person, but what stands before them is everything you've endured, everything you've rebuilt, everything you've refused to surrender. You are not alone. You are the result of every lesson that pain ever taught you. Oh, imagine their faces when they realize that, when they see that you're not angry, not shaken, not desperate, just ready. Because this isn't about defeating anyone, it's about walking your path, clear and certain. You move because you're meant to, not because they said you could. So when they try to stop you, you won't push them down. You'll move past them. You'll let your focus speak louder than any confrontation. Because when a person moves with purpose, even resistance becomes part of the rhythm. Oh, look at you. Still here, still listening, still locked in. That says everything. You didn't just watch a video. You faced something inside yourself. You stood in front of a mirror made of truth. And you didn't look away. That's rare. That's strength. That's what they noticed in you from the start, the part that doesn't run when it gets real. Yeah. You heard me. They can't believe it. They tried to fit you in a box, but you broke the shape. They tried to read you, but every page they turned only led to more mystery. Because you're not written in simple lines, you're built in layers. Every silence, every scar, every choice you made in the dark, it made you harder to define, harder to control, harder to stop. Oh, nah. Don't downplay that. Don't shrink it. You earned this presence. You earned the calm that confuses loud people. You earn the discipline that rattles the careless. The world might not clap for you yet, but trust me, the ones with power already see it. They're watching. They're questioning. They're whispering your name when you're not around. And now, it's your turn to speak through action. Not tomorrow, not later. Now. Take this energy, take this focus, and build with it. Whatever your craft, your goal, your next move, do it like someone who already carries weight, because you do. Oh yeah. And before you go, listen closely. Thank you. Seriously. The fact that you stayed till the end means you've got depth, attention, and patience, 3 things that fake power will never have. You're the reason messages like this matter. You're proof that real minds still exist in this noisy world. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what line hit you the hardest. Share this with someone who needs to remember their fire. Because your presence here, it's not random. It's the start of something. Keep walking with that silent force inside you. Keep building when no one's watching. Because from this point on, power won't just notice you. It'll start to follow you.